As this bomb squad employee was taking apart the package, he actually realized that the bomb looked familiar to him. In fact, it reminded him of another bomb that he'd handled 17 years earlier, way back in 1972. And the man who'd made that older bomb was named Walter Leroy Moody. I have heard that bombs are like signatures. They're like fingerprints.
Well, also, how many bombs are you really diffusing in your entire career? So you're probably going to remember every single one.
Right. After securing their warrants, the detectives searched Moody's home and some previous addresses where he'd lived, and they found red and white mailing labels, string, and brown paper. All ordinary office supplies, but they all matched the packaging on the bombs exactly. And the investigators read his personal journals and found references to making weapons. The police found another explosive device at one of those previous residences, and it had some traits in common with the one from 1972. This was the one the bomb squad expert remembered, and other traits in common with the more recent bombing spree. So the police thought it was evidence that Moody had been experimenting and perfecting his craft. And you have to think how scary it would be to go search these houses knowing that this guy is probably making bombs. Finding ways to make explosives that were deadlier and more effective is probably what he was doing. And you'd think that this would all be enough to justify an arrest, but the police weren't ready to move forward. They wanted more evidence. So next, they bugged Moody's house and listened to the conversations he had with his wife and with himself, because Moody had a bad habit of muttering to himself out loud.
All right, Moody.
And when he was all alone with no one in the room, he actually talked about how he'd killed people by sending them mail bombs. So he confesses to himself.
To himself? What a weirdo.
The police couldn't have asked for more perfect evidence if they'd tried, and it was all enough for them to arrest Moody.
Does that count? Like, can you...
Yeah.
If you're talking to yourself?
For sure.
I don't know. It's interesting.
When they took him in for interrogation, Moody obviously denied everything. He insisted that he didn't know anything about the mail bombs. He'd had nothing to do with the murder, and the police had the wrong man. But the investigators aren't buying it. There was plenty of evidence tying Moody to the crimes, and there was just one detail that they hadn't figured out yet. They needed a motive. Why would this guy even do this in the first place?
Moody was a little bit moody.
And since Moody wouldn't tell them why he had done what he'd done, the officials decided to try and make an educated guess. Here's what they thought happened. Moody had bought a car that he couldn't afford, and it had got repossessed. Moody handed his wife a package, which was addressed to the dealership that had taken the car away from him, and he asked her to mail the box for him. Now, it's safe to say his wife did not know what was in the box. She climbed into the car one day and opened the package to see what her husband was mailing. As you can probably guess, it was a bomb, and it exploded in her hands.